The last call. A man keeps getting calls from an unknown number every night at 3 a.m. At first, he thought it was a prank call, but then it started to freak him out. He decided to answer the call one night and see who was on the other end. But when he did, all he heard was heavy breathing. The person on the other end wasn't speaking. They were just breathing heavily. Then after about a minute, the person hung up. Every night after that, he continued to get calls from that same number. He tried blocking it, but the calls kept coming. Even when he turned his phone off at night, he would still hear the creepy breathing on his voicemail, so he decided to do something about it. He bought a new phone and even changed his number, but the calls still didn't stop. One night he was getting ready for bed when he heard the phone ringing. He looked at his clock. It was 3 a.m. He picked up the phone and said, "Hello." There was silence. Then he heard a loud bang, like someone had slammed the door shut. He hung up the phone and went to bed. But he couldn't stop thinking about the phone calls. What if it wasn't a prank? What if someone really wanted to talk to him? So he got out of bed and went to check under his bed. He was looking for anything that might have fallen off the bed and hit the phone, making it ring, but there was nothing there. He checked the cords to make sure they were entangled and causing the phone to ring on its own, but everything looked fine. He tried to go back to sleep, but the calls kept him up. He decided he needed a drink of water. As he walked to the kitchen, he noticed that his phone was still on silent mode, which was weird because he had always kept it on vibrate when he slept. He picked up the phone and looked at the screen. It was completely black. He pressed the power button, but it didn't turn on. Confused, he walked back to his room and threw himself onto the bed. He pulled the covers over his head and tried to sleep, but he couldn't stop thinking about the phone calls. Was someone messing with him? Or was there really someone on the other end of the line who wanted to talk to him? He decided to take matters into his own hands. He got up and went to his phone, which was still sitting on the nightstand. He picked it up and dialed the number that had been calling him every night. But before he could even finish dialing, the phone rang. He stared at the screen in disbelief. It was the same unknown number that had been calling him every night. He hesitated for a moment, but then he decided to answer. "Hello," he said into the phone. There was a long pause. Then he heard a voice. It was a man's voice. "Hello," it said. "Can you hear me?" The man on the other end of the line sounded like he was breathing heavily. "Who are you?" the man asked. "Why have you been calling me?" The man on the other end of the line didn't respond. He just kept breathing heavily. Then he hung up. The man stared at the phone in his hand. Was this really happening? Was he being stalked by a madman? Or was this all in his head? He decided to call the police, but before he could dial 911, the phone rang again. He looked at the screen. It was the same unknown number. He hesitated for a moment, but then he decided to answer. "Hello," he said into the phone. There was a long pause. Then he heard a voice. It was a man's voice. "Hello," it said. "Can you hear me?" The man on the other end of the line sounded like he was breathing heavily. "Who are you?" the man asked. "Why have you been calling me?" The man on the other end of the line didn't respond. He just kept breathing heavily. And then the screen flashed and said, "Death calling." That's all for this video. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.